My life has come to a point now where I'm just better off recreating the opening scene of God of War 1 in real life, and at the same time, I am so fucking angry that I feel like I should recreate the entirety of God of War 3 in real life. I just feel like I should become Mournville. I should just become the same Mournville that I created. That's how angry I am at my current situation. I have already made 2 videos about this topic of me going homeless, and before that, I had made a video criticizing my mother for ruining my life, and I still say fuck you to that bitch. But right now, the situation about being homeless is not related to her, but to someone else. I did try to explain it somewhat in my previous video, but then I decided not to say who the person was, and I didn't explain the situation in detail. Today, I'm just so frustrated that I won't hold back. I will just let everything out. I don't care if it's too personal, because letting it out is better than letting it consume me. I can't keep blowing air into the balloon and expect it not to burst. So let me start this story back in 2019, when my mother abandoned me and sent me to my father. My father had a small business that I don't know much about, but it was something about creating necklaces and such, and he had me live with his mother because his house was far from my school, and my grandma's house was right next to the school. My father had brought a house on loan. That's the house he was living in for a while, and then his business fell, and he had no money left. He couldn't even pay some of his workers, and he also had the house loan to pay and such. But I had my own problems with my grandma because her house was filthy and such. She was 100 years old. I shouldn't expect her to do things, but I didn't know how to clean the house, and her house was too cramped to even try and clean. There was barely any space to walk, and the food she cooked was also not very edible. Just when my father's business fell, I got food poisoning, and I almost died. And then, after getting back from the hospital, I didn't want to live with my grandma since I already died once, almost. So I was then sent to my aunt's house, and I had quit school. I can't explain why, I just didn't feel like going there. I lived with my aunt for 2.5 years, and just 5 months ago, I came back to live with my father, and I made my first YouTube video and restarted my career as a YouTuber. I bought a PC with the little money I had saved up in stocks, and all my aunt, whom I spent 2.5 years with, was helping my father pay the loan. She told my father to put the house under her name, and then after completing the loan, she would give him his share back. On October 25, 2024, the house was sold to one of the neighbors here, and my father called his sister to ask for his share of money, and she said she will not pay anything more than 20,000 rupees, which in USD is $240. Definitely not enough, and definitely more than the amount my father had paid already before he put the house under her name. And the new owner wanted us out by November 1st Street. Then, my father offered the new owner to let us stay for a month if we paid him rent, and he agreed. Then, when we sent him the money on November 7th, 2024, he called my father and said he's received the money now, pack everything and leave. He just straight up told us to leave after we paid him rent, and he states the reason to be that my father's sister didn't pay some amount required for the house, and he had to pay that amount. He wants us out now. And after selling the house, me and my father are living here without any official agreement and such. We just told him to let us stay for a month if we paid him. There's nothing we can do. We can't fight this, and both me and my father have nothing on us right now. Both our bank accounts are empty, and we can't even use the donations I got from some of you guys, since I can't withdraw the money unless I have $100 at least. But what makes me the most frustrated is the fact that I lived 2.5 years with my aunt, who, on the surface, told everyone she's taking care of me, but in reality, I was nothing more than a personal slave for her and her daughter. I had to live like a slave for them for 2.5 years, and it was mental and physical torture for me. I had to wake up at the exact time they wanted, and I had to do chores from day to night without any breaks. Sometimes, she wouldn't even let me eat in peace. Like, if I'm eating and her daughter forgets where she put her boots, I have to get up and find her boots. Only after that can I eat again. And my aunt sometimes would even throw away the food and say, "I didn't know you were eating," as if she just didn't come there and told me to stop eating and find her daughter's fucking boots that aren't even in the house. They are in their other house in another city. There's just a lot of things they made me do that might seem normal but aren't. The terrible food my aunt cooked while bragging like she's some sort of master chef, as if she taught Gordon Ramsay how to turn on the fucking stove. Both her and her daughter had me massage their feet every night, even if all they did was tell me to clean their house for them. And their leg massage lasted for 30 minutes on each foot. 2 hours just massaging their feet. And her dementia is out of the world, and neither she nor her daughter wants to believe it. Let me just tell you that one time, my aunt told me to go and buy some groceries, I bought everything, and then my aunt tells me I forgot to buy tomatoes. I tell her she didn't tell me to buy tomatoes, and she is stubborn, she won't admit it. So I just go and buy tomatoes, and then she's like, why did you buy tomatoes? I told you to buy potatoes. I just go back and get potatoes instead, and then I return, and she just gets mad and goes, I told you to buy cilantro, why did you buy potatoes? And then I buy cilantro, and she's like, why don't you get it? I told you to buy tomatoes. It was actually getting so out of hand that I started to believe maybe I have dementia, and this may sound frustrating and all, and you guys may wonder why I didn't just leave or fight back or just deny doing whatever she told me. If you are thinking these questions, then I guess you're not from India. In India, you have to respect and listen to everyone who's older than you, even if they are retarded as fuck. Because if you don't, you are hated by society, and if the elderly person is a woman, then your life is basically fucked from that moment to the day you die. Because in India, people listen to a woman's word over a man's. There was absolutely no difference between living with my mom and living with my aunt. I had to sleep in the living room. I wasn't allowed on the furniture. I wasn't allowed in other rooms. I wasn't allowed to eat much and mostly had to eat leftovers. I wasn't allowed to go out. I was mentally tortured by my mother throwing abusive slurs at me and by my aunt throwing useless slurs at me. I was physically tortured by my mother beating me and taking her anger out on me, and by my aunt making me do all kinds of work at her house, from 9 PM all the way to 1 AM. My only plan was to get on YouTube, earn money, and start living alone, throw away my fucking SIM card so no one can call me, and just make content and make money. And to especially make sure my aunt is not in my life, only for my life to get fucked because of her in the end. On top of all of this, there's some random ass 14-year-old fat kid in my neighborhood who calls me Chapri every time he sees me. I swear, that kid is just seconds away from getting the Charon, Thanatos, Theseus, Alric, Perseus, Poseidon, Hades, Helios, Hermes, Hercules, Kronos, Hephaestus, Hera, Zeus, and Aphrodite treatment. I swear, everything that has been going on is just making me as angry as God of War 3 Kratos right now, because every time I try to make my channel work, I have to stop. But this time, when I dedicated myself to it, and I got to 1,100 subscribers and even unlocked fan funding, now everything is falling out of place. I can't explain how frustrating it is for me. I don't even know what to do to become the God of War 1 Kratos or God of War 3 Kratos. I don't know, but this is everything that has been happening with me, and after this, I don't know what to do. This video was me letting out all my frustration, and from this point forward, I don't know what would happen. I said I didn't want to make another video about it, but circumstances have left me no choice. I don't know. There's no coming out of this situation now. I only have to choose between A and B now.